Welcome to JMC Live. It's been a stressful week for a lot of people. Me especially, as it comes to this wonderful accounting that I'm trying to study. But that's neither here nor there. What we got going on for you today is going to be a big story. A lot of stuff is happening, and it looks like I'm froze, but hopefully this will work and pan out here in a second. What's going on is we're running into a big issue in Egypt. And it's not just a problem with Egypt in itself. It's affecting the whole Middle East. A lot of people are aware of the riots and the magnitude that they are having. I don't know if anyone's seen any pictures of what this looks like. And for those of you in the chat, you're about to get a taste of it. And I'm going to tell you, this is quite heart-wrenching, to say the least. It's got me quite upset. We know that there are at least 70 Christians have been killed in Iraq. Several Christians are being displaced and being murdered in Egypt. But all of this is coming down to a simple event. The people of Egypt are fed up with, they are tired of how their government's being run. They're tired of exactly what is happening. And I'm going to share with you guys the Fox News article here that's happening right now. And at least 4 to 6 people. It depends on who you talk to as to who says what is being destroyed, who is I don't know if it's going to get down to where things aren't going to get any better. They're going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. I personally wish that it didn't come down to something like this. But as you see in this one photo with the shield and the people running and the fires and everything, it's getting quite out of control. I don't know about you, but here in America, I don't know anyone that could last very long in an environment such as this. And I think you run into situations where people themselves cannot control their actions. They cannot control their emotions. And that's kind of a normal response to what is happening. And all night, there's going to be even more updates. I'm looking at this other one now. They're saying 5 people have been killed. And you're like, well, what does that have to do with people here in America? What do we have to do? Well, let's see. They've shut down flights. They've shut off the internet. They've even shut off cell phone use. And everyone's trying to fight against a Muslim faction and take in consideration Tunisia, another northern African Arab nation.
That's where all this really has started.
This flooding and all these problems going on. You have Tunisia, you have Syria, Iran, Iraq. Everyone's all in these different...
Uzbekistan.
And I'm not hearing a lot from Uzbekistan.
That was last year. That was earlier.
Yeah. And everyone's having this... They're tired of having the same leaders in power for a long time. And they have a long list of demands and rules and different things. President Obama just spoke just recently. And it's probably, 2:30 now? 2 o'clock?
It's about between 2 and 3
2 or 3 a.m. Egypt time. And the people, they've been hit with rubber bullets and tear gas and everything. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. And even though some people are probably going to disagree, this is a direct connection to, a very direct connection to, biblical times.
Well, the point of why they're rioting, if you read the article, it's a very in-depth, long article, is there are 80 million people who live in Egypt alone. 40 million of these people are living in poverty. They're struggling. And they're tired of the oppression of the government. They're tired of being basically trampled on. And they want their rights. They want freedom. They want basically pretty much a democracy. They want a complete revamp of their government. And they're putting up a pretty good fight for it.
I was reading also, and I'll have to try and see if I can find it, if I can get my computer to cooperate. I believe it was the BBC that was having a live blog about what is actually happening, and it was roughly good hour and a half ago. The president says, of Egypt, president wants to dismiss his cabinet, but he wants to remain in power. The internet and cell phones were off, and then they turned them back on. And he's wanting to establish some kind of new government this weekend. I even watched the Al Jazeera, and I don't actually know as of yet who is going to take over. I'm going to let you guys see this. He says he takes out the cabinet, but he wants to remain some kind of, this is BBC News, Middle East. He wants to remain as some kind of security role.
And this man has been in power for 30 years.
And the new cabinet will be announced this Saturday. So,
but they don't want him in power anymore. The people, the citizens of Egypt, do not want him in power anymore. They're tired of it.
Since the protest began, it says right here, and I'll highlight it, death toll is up to 26 people. Now, what does this mean for the rest of the world? Well, I have friends right now that are watching gas prices. Wall Street, I'll give you an example, and it's not literally Wall Street, but those that own oil in Egypt and Saudi Arabia are jacking the prices. So I suggest, not as I'm going to freak you out, anywhere from 5 to 25 cents gas could go up in the next 5 to 7 days. Good example, I paid $2.96 for gas 3 days ago, and it's $3.12 today.
Yeah.
So if you look at the whole, things can change. A lot of things can get out of control, and it gets very dangerous. Oh yeah, here's something else I see. Looks like they have a curfew from 1800 to 700
for the whole country.
1600 to 500 Greenwich Mean Time. So that's another faction.
It's a nationwide.
NPR even talked about today about the United States not funding assistance. We're talking about financial assistance, food assistance, and all the other tradings and things that have occurred. Now, I'm also going to show you this map. We've got to see the map to understand. The map will tell you exactly what I'm looking at. We all know Egypt is connected to Israel and Libya. But as you see, the Suez, Cairo, Alexandria, Mansoura, and Ismaila. These are all the different areas. But in they keep saying it's going to get worse. One of the things going to happen is the Gulf ports. If it continues to get worse, they can actually shut down the Gulf ports for trade. Yeah. The United States might even be doing it, and other countries might be doing it. What is scary, too, is there are other Muslim-led faction countries that want to protest or agree with what's happening. So, depending on how Christians stand up, as I stated earlier, and I'll have to find the article for you real quick. A lot of stuff is happening, and that's why I've been almost out of control when it came to finding what was going on. Because
many people are asking, what is it they want? What is it they want to change? Well, the reason they want a total revamp of the government is because they want they want more freedom. They are tired of the oppression. They're tired of living in poverty. They want more jobs. They want to have more opportunities. They're tired of their food prices, and everything that they buy out over there the price has been raised, and nobody can afford anything. I mean, 40 million people out of 80 million people are living in poverty over there. Yeah. They're pretty ticked off, and they're at the point where they're clearly it's probably similar to what's going on here in America, but probably much worse. People are homeless. People are living on the streets. People are, they're trying to find food. They're trying to find any work that they can, and they're finally letting their voice be heard, and the government in turn won't listen to them, and they're bombing them with tear gas. They're shooting rubber bullets. Some policemen are even taking off their uniforms in the street and joining the protesters because they're going against the government.
We have a question in the chat, and that's going to lead to exactly what everyone's looking at. You're seeing the Voice of the Martyrs, persecution.com. This is as of of January 2010, and I know there's been a lot more. The Egyptian court sentences a man to death for killing 6 Christians and a Muslim policeman. It finally took over a year for this to happen. It was 2 weeks after a suicide bomber killed 23 people in a church in Alexandria. Now, the question that was in the chat, it says later on, 10% of the population of Egypt. Evangelicals make up less than 4% of Egypt. Now, the question in the chat was, what does the rioting in Egypt, what does the rioting in Iran, and then the pricing of oil and gas, what we've been talking about, the other shows about the birds, the octopus, the weird goop, what does all this have to do with end time stuff?
Wait a minute, you're not explaining the birds and stuff. They're dead. Hundreds of animals
all these birds dying, and then now we have this massive rioting. For a one world government to be established that is mentioned in Revelation, you have to have a discorded government situation happen. Mm-hmm. The current infrastructure, staying the way it is, cannot make a unified one world government. Somebody must submit to another country, person, religion, for all this stuff to come together. We have seen throughout history, as history repeats itself, from the great Roman Empire to the Babylonian Empire to the great, wonderful thing, as the communists said, as you saw the Berlin Wall come down, and we saw all those countries split just recently in the last 20, 30 years. We've seen countries unite and break up with one another. Since Israel has been established in the late 40s as a nation, the Bible was very clear that Israel and the end times cannot happen until Israel became its own state. Some people still argue about that because Israel still does not have all of the part of Egypt and some other places, but it's a beginning. Riots in countries that are Muslim countries that are in the Middle East, especially when it comes to government issues, and even more so, taking out a leader who's been in power for over 30 years, and the people are wanting something different, and it ends up changing things. And then, I watched Al Jazeera, and that was the reason why I watched Al Jazeera, which is the Muslim news channel, and it was in New York and Cairo all at the same time. They were actually praising how President Obama came to pass speaking peace and love and joy, and we should not fight against the protesters. You should support them, and we should do this. What's happening is we're creating an environment for a change. That's what Obama talked about, a change. And the Bible is very clear that all these countries, currencies, food, all these different structures, if we look at the weather pattern recently, negative 50 degrees in Maine. It snows in every state but Florida. The Bible is very clear that when at the beginning, and this is the part too many people get confused on. It says the beginning of the end times, not the end. Not, okay, tomorrow is the end of the earth and everything's going to blow up and Jesus is back. No, it's very clear. It says, in the beginning of the end times, your children, boys and girls will start dreaming dreams and having visions. There will be earthquakes and calamities and disasters and changes of weather patterns and changes in food, and there will be rumors of wars, and there will be more wars, and there will be these great earthquakes. Well, NASA has proven, and we said this on another show before, NASA proved that the 9.6, I think, it was 9 point something, I can't remember,
in Chile.
9 point something in Chile actually changed the rotation of the Earth's axis. Why is this significant? It is significant because, quite simply,
yes,
the Bible says that the days will be shortened. Now, if the NASA, United States government, can prove that earthquakes of certain magnitudes can change the axis, the revolving of the earth. Because if you change the axis, the speed will change too. So to slow down the day, you honestly have to make the earth go faster. We go about, what, a little over 3,000 miles an hour the earth spins. I know it's a little crazy. For the days to be shortened, the earth just has to increase speed. How would you do that? Change the axis, change the weight of the earth, different things of that nature. Change the ozone. All these things are lining up. It's biblical. You can't argue it. So what's going to happen with Egypt? You're going to have a new leader of power. What is this new leader going to do? And we're asking the same question with Iraq, because we don't really know quite yet. What are these leaders going to do? Are they going to want to do more of the same Muslim, same old school stuff? Are they wanting to do something even more extreme? Only time will tell on that. And like I said, the Bible is clear. It's the beginning. And the problem is, this earth can survive another 500 to 5,000 more years from now. But the key is, where is your heart? Where is your mind? And where is your soul? It doesn't matter when God is coming back. It is a fact that God will come back. And that the earth will continue to go through this period, and people will continue to go through this period of either serving God or serving Satan. There's no in between. Like Revelation says, either you're hot or you're cold, and if you're lukewarm, God will spit you out of His mouth. There's no time to just play around with church. There's no time to sit there and say, well, it's the end, I don't really care, or no, it's not the end, I just don't believe in all that hogwash, as people down in the South would say, or, well, there's just nothing I can do, I just wish it'd hurry up and get over with. Those are some of the things. When we come back, I will share with you more on what's going on in the world, because these are signs of a paradigm shift in the world. And what is God going to do next? We'll be right back.